This part of the session makes the link between research orientation and the actual configuration of the research methods you're going to use. That configuration can be understood as research design. Now, in an ideal world, the only influence on this research design would be your research philosophy, your research orientation. However, this isn't an ideal world, therefore there will be two more aspects which will limit that perfect scenario of a research, which will limit your choice of a research design. Ethical considerations and practical constraints. There will be a separate session on ethical considerations, so we are not going to focus on that particular issue. Such practical issues relating to the nature of the research problem are the type of questions. So, for example, you may choose to do an applied research or a rather theoretical one. Some practical issues have to do with the nature of the research problem you are tackling. For example, the type of question you're going to try to answer through your study. Is it an applied or a theoretical question? That has implications on the actual methods you're going to use and the umbrella approach to those methods. Then the audience to whom the results will be presented and assessed by is also an important practical consideration. For example, if you know that the audience has a certain understanding of a particular method, you may wish to refrain from using a more controversial method that perhaps would not be as well received by that particular audience. And then there are the obvious practical constraints, perhaps mundane, financial, and time considerations. Finally, to do with the previous discussion we had in this session, your research design is significantly constrained by philosophical and conceptual considerations to do with assumptions you may have about the nature of the physical and social reality you wish to research and the process through which you believe this reality can be studied, can be investigated, and indeed understood. While practical considerations may seem rather mundane and uninteresting compared to philosophical debates, they are important ones. Indeed, all social science research is a coming together of the ideal and the feasible. And here are some of the issues that have to do with practical and ethical considerations. For example, financial and time constraints. You may not have the time to collect a very large. Finally, and don't underestimate this last point, the audience may be an important practical consideration to take into account. By audience, you will need to think of the body of knowledge to which your research contributes. Because of these practical considerations, there will be many cases in which the nature of the research topic or the access to the research sites or to subjects for an investigation and the constraints placed on the researcher loom large in decisions about how to design and carry out a research project. In these cases, there may well be a discrepancy between the researcher's research orientation and his or her selected research design. And it is also in these cases that perhaps a pragmatist research orientation could be adopted.